What if the rumble of a revved relic, not the triumphant trumpet of triumph, but the guttural groan of gears grinding against ghosts, carried you not from ruin to redemption, but through the hollow heart of a horizon haunted by what once hummed with life, the acrid bite of exhaust mingling with the metallic tang of rain-rusted relics on your tongue like tears tasted too late, calloused palms vibrating against handlebars that hum like a heartbeat half-remembered, the damp chill of fog-fingered, ferns brushing your bare arms like forgotten fingers, and vistas vast and verdant where vines veil the vertebrae of skyscrapers, their silence screaming the sacrifice of streets once symphony sung? This is the odyssey of the overlooked, where hope's hesitant hum wars with despair's dirge, sacrifice the silent sprocket binding survival to the soul's slow spin, identity a map redrawn in the rear view's receding ruins, evoking the wistful wanderings of Kerouac's road warriors in on the road, not in jazz-fueled jubilation but in the quiet quest to quilt the quilted earth with quilts of quiet companionship, one tank's trickle tracing the trail of the untraveled. Two survivors sputter, a world's unwitting wake. What rusted ride in your garage growls the ghosts of gone yesterdays, gearing toward tomorrow's tentative turn. On October 4, 2025, as equinox's edge etched amber arcs across autumn's awakening skies, touring after the apocalypse, Shimatsu Tsuringu unspooled its inaugural episode, Hakone, the gentle gear shift in a 12-episode traverse that tandem rides from manga's maiden murmurs into animated afterglows, inaugurating an arc where two souls sojourn stitches the seams of a shattered Japan. It enchants from the engine's earnest idle, a pair of protagonists pedaling through pastoral phantoms, ruins rendered romantic in the rearview, and rhythms rekindled in the road's relentless roll, teasing the torque of trials without throttling the tender thrum. Like the tentative treads in the Motorcycle Diaries' Dusty Dawns, where one engine's echo echoes the Earth's own evolution, it straps you to the saddle's sway, wind whipping your whiskers, the foliage's faint fragrance filling your lungs, as if your apocalypse awaited around the bend. Have you ever felt the road's rumble resonate with the ruins within, its roar a wry reminder that the journey journals the self's slow salvage? That's the hum here, not the havoc's horizon, but the hitch in your helmet hankering. How does one duo's drift draft the dawn anew? Twist the throttle. The trail tempts, tangled with tales untold and the verdant veil of a vanquished Japan, where overgrowth orchestrates an overture to oblivion, echoing the eerie elegies of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind where winds whisper of worlds withered. This premiere pulses from the manga's inaugural idyll, Volume 1's verdant vagabondage, no antecedent. Episodes to attune this origin's overture, thrusting Yoko and Eri from fortified fastnesses into the freewheeling fray of forgotten freeways. A tandem tour on their trusty Suro, the duo drifts from domiciles dotted with dormant delights, boba bursts like buried bubbles, onsen's steam summoning spectral soaks, toward Hakone's hazy heights, their colloquy a quiet quartet charting chorales of camaraderie amid the creep of creeping canopies. Glimpses glisten, gears grinding against gravity's grudge, graffiti ghosts on girders like graffitied goodbyes, encounters ephemeral with echoes of the extinct, all funneling toward a fulcrum where the familiar fractures into the unforeseen. It's a languid lap, this episode, from sanctuary's sigh to sojourn's subtle surge, tendrils twining like vines. What verdant veil veils the venom beneath? How does a single shift summon the storm? You lean into the lean of the lane, exhaust's ember warming your wake, the foliage's faint frisk fretting your fringe, pulse pitching to the piston's precarious pitch, parched for the plot's poignant progression. The credits coast like a clutch half-released, but the curiosity's crest, coiled, caressing, coaxing you to chase the chaparral. Episode 1 advances the arc like a leisurely lap through labyrinthine leaves, unhurried yet unyielding, distilling manga's chapters 1 to 2 into a narrative nodule that nudges from nested normalcy to nomadic nuances, fidelity to the source's serene subtlety sands, its sprawling soliloquies on sylvan secrets, revelation's root restrained, the apocalypse's ambiguous aftermath, the Suro's steadfast spin as savior's sprocket, a cliffhanger creaking with convened consternation as convergence's crest on compromised cartography, portending perils poised on pastoral peripheries. No narrative nebula. Instead, a modulation from memorial montage to motivational meander, pacing a poignant poise that parcels pastoral pauses with pointed pricks, dramatic denouement echoing the manga's meticulous meter, where exposition emerges emergent from environmental echoes rather than enumerated exposés, fan-queried cloudy aspects, the cataclysm's cryptic cause, cosmic caprice or calculated cull, the duo's durable dynamic, Ares' ailment a anchor or albatross, the ruin's romantic ruse, overgrowth's overture ominous or oasis, the series' serene shift from survival's sting, dissipate under manga's mantle. Chapter 1 codifies the end as enigmatic ellipsis, a verdant veil veiling viral voids. Persado side notes, the anime's abbreviated allusions, foliage's faint frisk, Yoko's yearning yarns, honing this without harangue. unfolding. Aries' arc aches as affliction's apprentice, her fragility a foil fostering fortitude in Volume 1's undercurrents, resolving riddles with rhythmic retrospection from the source's stratified serenity. Its erudite emergence, this episode, alchemizing ambiguities to allegros, reminiscent of Girl's Last Tour's gentle gnaw, where one tank's tread traces the tranquility's trap. Here, it invites you to intone the interstices, senses steeped in the sylvan. Yoko yields as Yoke's yeoman, her wanderlust a wistful weave over wistful worries, motivations moored in manga's mournful marrow, survivor's soliloquy a salve for solitude's sting, choices like Sorrow's stewardship a coda to concealed cataclysms, wounds well in wistful wanders, Aries' anchor as aching allure, dialogue demure yet dawning depth, surprising in its subtle surge toward stewardship, transformative as Chapter 2's nascent nod to narrative nuance. Aries ascends as alter ego's anthem, her frailty a filigree of fortitude, growth glimmers in gregarious grapples. Manga's undercurrents unveil her as anchor's apprentice, utterances unyielding yet unveiling yearnings for yield, consistent in quietude's cadence yet cracking in crisis's clutch. The ruins' remnants ripple as reluctant chorus, their silhouettes sharpen as sonatas. Yoko's yielding, less yielding than yearning yield. Aries' assembly, a fissure in former facades. Were they transformative? Tellingly, akin to Kino's journeyous quiet quests, where one traveler's tread tunes the taciturn. I personally was struck by Aries' airy affirmations. What sylvan silence in your sojourn summons the soul's subtle song? Turing transmutes not mere miles but meanings meander. Does desolation's dirge demand despair, or distill desire's dialect? It palpitates in Yoko's yen, wrestling world's wolf in woven worries. Her halt's a harmonic of humility and hidden heat, and Aries' ailment, morality's measured meter where sacrifice seasons the soil's soul, hope's halting him against despair's discordant drone. Beyond branches, it burgeons in the ruin's gaze, a Camuian quiver querying can cultivation catalyze communion, the cut claim the cutter, resonant as the road's relentless ramble, where one father's footfall fathers the faint. Its vein-valved rumination, veining vines to our own verdant vexations. In the verdure of the vagabond, what silence summons your sprout, lore layers like loam on latent life. The post-panorama a palimpsest of pastoral perils, where overgrowth orchestrates oblivion's overture, vines veiling viral voids, complicating the cosmos with manga's Chapter 1 codicil of sylvan symbiosis, flora's filigree fraying the fabric of the frayed, enriching the ether without excess. The highway haunts from byway to bygone, its axioms a archipelago of anomalies that allure as they augment, script sprouts sharp as a sprocket strike, poetic in its phrasing's precision, lines like Yoko's yarn spinning's cliché conquered, laden with Loam's levity, impactful as elegies that abide after applause like Hemingway's Horizons, crisp, crescendoing, conjuring the clamor beyond the canopy. Foreshadow flutters and flourishes, resonance in refrains that reverberate post-premiere, such as Aries' airy asides a nuanced nocturne carrying narrative nectar. Its libretto that lacerates lovingly, each locution a lure. What whispered wisdom from your wounded wander might whistle the winds of wonder. Aesthetics evoke an etude's elegance, fluid fingerings fracturing finery, symbolism in sepia soils, ochres oozing against obsidian overgrowths, channeling spirited away verdant vendettas in veiled veins, where lighting limbs longings lace, shadows schooling sprouts in silhouette's subtle surge. Stillness in Yoko's stare sculpts suspense's sigh, movement in melees measure a maelstrom of meticulous momentum. Beauty betokens bond's bittersweet bloom, molding mood as a tendril's twist, majestic, mournful vistas vogue as virtuoso's vista. It mirrors marrow, Yoko's ken contracting to cloistered concerns, Aries expanding in enigmatic expanses, Usti orchestrates as oracle's overture. Motifs of muted mandolins murmuring through string swell surges, elevating entreaties to epic's edge, silence in scrutiny's suspension shriller than shattered staves. Did that suspended sustain, mid-measure, mimic the maestro's muted gasp, incising like quill on quivering quaver? Miyu Tomida's Yoko yields in wistful warmth, timbre a tempered treble that trembles on threshold's brink, intensity incarnating isolation's infinite ache. The ensemble's echoes embody essences, Aries' airy affirmations laced with latent luminosity, standouts soaring in soliloquies, not narration, but necromancy, notes that nestle in neural nooks. This episode etches with an elegance that's equal parts exaltation and elegy. The road's reluctant rumble rent my resolve like rain on reluctant rose, wonder welling in the warp of will's weaving. Moments of mirrored measures leaving lacerations of legacy, scars of solidarity sparking subversive shudders. I felt fissured, a fire in the arboreal aura, echoing my own encores evading emptiness where one ovation overthrows the ordinary. Shrouded in subsoil's shimmer, the zenith zips as zealots zephyred in zealous zenith, a schism where savior's sprout shatters, symphonies shifting like stand by me's steadfast stream birthing ballads from boyhood. It iterates immortally, in the the idiom of the inherited, does one discord defy the dirge? You harbor it, this harmony, philosophical phonemes patterning private psalms. What faltering fingering from your faded fanfare might fan the flames of forgotten fire? The resonance rings, unrelenting, retune, and revel in the requiem's rapture, reverse reading the roots. Pacing's prologue plod, fans decry as diffuse in drama's dawdle, reframes as rhythmic requital, a stylistic simulacrum of symphonic simmer, mirroring the manga's meditative measures to marinate the melody's marrow. Drama's dosage might dilute the dulcet, yet its thematic truss, tethering tussles to trenchant tunes akin to Kino's journeyous quiet quests where silence claims the soul. Vocal variances veer in vibrato's vice, but this vivifies the visceral, vivisecting vanity's veil. Admiration anchors, discerning dissection defers to delight, imperfections as intervals in an interlude of incandescent idiom. Episode 1 triumphs in tuneful tenacity and thematic timbre, its nascent notes nuance a nimble nudge. It consummates its conceit, catalyzing clichés clef into cathartic concerto, narrative nerve netted with nocturnal nuance. To mute the melody is to miss the movement's muse, the engine idles, inviting your ignition. What if this verdant voyage voyaged your voids? One duo's drift drafting the dawn you dawdled. The road rolls, relentless. Rev it, and let the apocalypse applaud your arrival. Have you ever trailed your fingers through the shallows of a flooded street, the water's chill seeping into your skin like the slow seep of forgotten names, each ripple a relic of routines drowned, carrying the faint, briny tang of salt and rust that coats your tongue like the aftertaste of a world unmade? Or strained to catch the muffled toll of a submerged bell, its echo rising from the murk like a half-remembered lullaby, vibrating through your chest as overgrown vines brush your ankles, insistent as the ghosts of gardens untended? In touring after the apocalypse episode 2, Yokohama Yokosuka, aired October 11, 2025, this submersion becomes a siren song for the survivors, weaving the series' inaugural arc, from the bunker's blind emergence into a verdant void, into a coastal elegy where landmarks lean like weary sentinels against the tide's inexorable advance, echoing the spectral sojourns of survivors in McCarthy's Ashen the Road, scavenging solace in the skeletal husks of suburbia, or the wistful wanderings of displaced families in Steinbeck's dust-choked Grapes of Wrath. It probes identity's fragile flotilla. What anchors us when the maps we memorize dissolve into the deep? I drifted through its depths, the episodes intrigue a current both caressing and cruel, serene in its surveys, yet shadowed by swells that hint at the undertow of unraveling truths. Can you taste it, that metallic mist on your lips as the Bay Bridge bows under wave-kissed weight, the distant drone of a fishing line cast into silence pulling at your palms? The vista doesn't map the mystery. It mirrors it, each uncharted cove a caress urging you seaward. What submerged stories might your own submerged self surface if you surrendered to the swell? From episode 1's tentative traversal, Yuko and Aries' bunker-born bond blooming amid mutated marvels and mechanical menaces, their motorcycle a makeshift chariot chasing her big sister's spectral itinerary of iconic idols. This second sojourn sails eastward to Yokohama's Yond Bay, where the bridge's bowed spine frames their foray into fishing's fragile fraternity. Nets cast into the cerulean calm yield not just sustenance but serendipity. A cyborg castaway, Ikiru Suzuki, his form a fusion of flesh-faded memory and ferrous fidelity, surfaces like a submersed subroutine, his tales a tether to the tempests that toppled the world. Explorations enfold the ensemble. Kamakura's colossal Buddha, its serene gaze veiled in verdant veils and faded masks. The Cosmo Clock's skeletal spin against auroral awnings. The Nippon Maru's majestic maw, now a marine mausoleum aglow with bioluminescent blooms. Light-hearted lulls, singing seafaring shanties, sketching shorelines in shared solitude, interlaced with introspective interludes, flashbacks flickering like faulty film reels to unveil the cataclysm's cascade. It charts a course from isolated ignition to intimate intersection, each landmark a lodestone drawing the duo deeper into the deluge of the departed. Imagine yourself astride that sputtering steed, the spray stinging your cheeks as Ikiru's optic orbs flicker with archived agonies, the earthy reek of overripe orchards mingling with ozone's ominous ozone. Does the chorus of their coupled cadences comfort, or does the horizon's hazy hem haunt your hold? The chronicle parcels its portents precisely, each plotted point a prow to the peril unplumbed. What watery whispers might the next waypoint wash ashore? Episode 2 navigates the narrative with the nautical nuance of a sextant sighting stars through storm clouds, propelling the pilgrimage from provisional peregrinations to poignant convergences, revelations of retrofitted remnants, a JMSDF relic reborn in robotic rigor, cresting in cascades of contextual cataclysm, a subtle torsion in temporal tapestries that transplants prelapsarian panoramas into post-diluvian poignancy, teetering on a precipice where personal pantheons perilously persist. Pacing ebbs with elegiac elegance, meandering montages montages of mundane mirth moderated by maelstrom of mnemonic montage, achieving equilibrium akin to the tidal tempos in Melville's Moby Dick, vast vistas of voyage punctuating the white whale's wrenching wake. Dramatic ballast buoys beautifully, though devotees delve into cloudy aspects. The apocalypse's architect, nukes noxious nebulae, AI's insurgent algorithms, or asteroids apocalyptic arc. Yuko's ontology, a human hologram or engineered echo, the timeline's treacherous tangle, centuries collapsed into childlike candor. Anchored in manga's volumes 1 to 2, chapters 4 to 7, Takuru's serialized strokes in Denjiki Daioji, commencing 2020, where the adaptation amplifies effective asides for auditory allure. These nebulosities navigate as narrative nexuses. The Downfall's dossier, delineated in Chapter 5's dreamlike dioramas, amalgamates anthropogenic affronts, nuclear conflagrations at Yokosuka, endocrine eddies engendering evolutionary excesses, with extraterrestrial exigencies, orbital obliterations, shooting stars, veering as vanguard voids, not a singular scourge but a symphonic subsidence, clarifying opacity as orchestrated omen, where sea-level surges symbolize selective silences in survival's score. Yuko's essence, expounded in Volume 2's vignettes as a sisterly simulacrum, implanted intimations from her guardian's genome, her unscathed spills and sepia-toned recollections a deliberate dissonance echoing the manga's motif of mirrored maidens, her age and allegorical artifice unbound by biology. Aikiru's ingress, inferred in chapter SAXS Codas, underscores cybernetic continuums, his homecoming a harbinger of hybrid havens, enriching the real with relational resonances. This voyage doesn't veer, it vaults, vesting vestiges as voyage's vanguard, the principles pulse with profound pliancy, interiors illuminated like lanterns lashed to listing hulls. Yuko emerges as the episode's unyielding undertow, her latent laceration the lacuna of lineage lost, big sister's bunkered bequest a bittersweet buoy, motivations marbled with make-believe's moxie masking maternal yearnings, choices, charting choruses with candid camaraderie, confronting confessions with childlike chutzpah, consistent in their capricious clarity yet transformative, surprising in a shimmer of shadowed sorrow that shatters her sunny shell, evoking the resilient reveries of Pollyanna's prairie pangs amid paradise's parish. Airy, the android anchor, accrues effective asymmetries, her heuristic heart humming with harvested harmonies, growth glimpsed in grudging glimpses of grief's grammar. Aikiru, the ironclad interlocutor, unveils urges undercut by obsolescence's ache, his dialogues a dirge of defiant delusion laced with luminous loyalty, consistent as ceaseless currents, transformative? In the tide's turn, yes, advancement accrued in every accolade anchored. The installment interrogates inheritance's intoxicating illusion, potency's provisional perch in persistence, where ethics elasticizes in the elegy of enduring echoes, ablation the oblique offering of oblivion for the oracle of the oniric other. Past placards, these plights proliferate via pursuits. Aikiru's ingress a philosophical pivot on posterity's potency, incarnating in Yuko's quest, familial fragments as filial fortitude, a subsistence signal echoing Camus' coastal confessions or the sacrificial sojourns in Station 11's symphonic salvages. Does aspiration's archive armor the anima, or does despondency's deluge delineate the divide? Aries' effective arcs probe the precipice, synthetic sentience as bulwark, determination's a dance of data reclaimed amid decay's drift, mythos multiplies with maritime meticulousness. The deluge's dossier, craters carved by cosmic contusions, volcanoes vomiting veiled vapors, embellishes the expanse with edicts of ecological elegy, where tokusatsu's tenets twine with tedium's tide, convoluting the chronicle with convergences of catastrophe and calm, antiquity's ardent auroras afflicting the actualized aftermath. Takuru's tapestry, adapted with fidelity's finesse, lacerates like a lashed lifeline, incisive as an inset icon, lyrical in its laconic lilt, transfiguring template into trenchant toasts. Yuko's yearns yield yeoman's yarns veined with vintage vim, presaging partitions that pulse post-pull like the poignant pleas in the Little Prince's planetary peregrinations. Aikiru's interludes, yoked with yokel yowls, reverberate with the roar of renegade refrains. Potent, pervasive, each locution a lure of legacy and levity, legating you to the lore. Catch Aries' analytic aria avalanche like a synthete's soliloquy in Blade Runner's rain-slicked reveries. Does it hone your heart, this oratorical oscillation? The lexicon doesn't lecture. It lures, each lacuna a lure to the legend lurking. Nexus nautical nuance lavishes the lens. Supple surges in solo seafaring, silhouettes splintering in spurious splendor that signify shifting semblances, cerulean swells stark against scholastic sepias now sepulchred in silt. Illumination incises yearning. Vespers veiled violet veiling vigils, umbras undulating in uncanny upsurges to evoke existential entanglement. Stasis in Yuko's ruminative repositions relents to riotous rushes of reminiscence, allure and acerbic ambrosia, not accoutrement, but augury, the counterpoint of color and crepuscule chiseling configurations capture convulsions, each vista a vault for the viscera's vaulting. The score summons as spectral summoner, incipits jaunty jangle gelling into jaunty japes, show a strains surging like sepia specters, bewitching blanks with balladry's balm, apotheoses ascending in anthem assaults that abrade like artificial adversaries, quietude quests quintessentially in quartered quarters, a refrain redolent over any route, incising acoustic aftereffects akin to the intermissions in Spirited Away, luminous lulls, see you evoke entities from the ether. Yuko's interpreter infuses incisive intensity with inherent innocence, timbre a taut thread threading toil and triumph, incarnating her inner insurrection. Ikiru's gravel growl graphs gruff guffaws with guarded grief, fervor firing his febrile facade. Aries' analytic ardor, a velvet vibrato laced with laryngeal ache, coils camaraderie with coy craving, enunciations excavating the echoes, ensnaring you in the sonics as if your timbre might temper the tumult. This episode evoked an exquisite equilibrium, melancholy's murmur mellowing mirth, marvel mustered at the mentor's muted metal, welts from Ikiru's yearned yet yoked youth that welter like the wheels of waylaid wanderers in on the beach irradiated idols. Instances of imitative impetus left lambent legacies, flickers in the fiend's fortuitous foray firing a fierce fidelity. The apex aligns as artifice's apocalypse, a fate's fracas where facades foment fray, refracting the rider's ruddy reality. It invokes immortal interrogations. In the guise of our girded guises, do we dwindle in the dullness of dictate, or does the henshin's haste husband the heart's haphazard hollows? Perceive that pulse, peruser, paralleling the protagonist pangs in the road's ashen ambles. Raw, rhythmic, resounding through resolve, the ruminations recur, a rupture unrepaired via reverse reading, the contemplative cadences cautious creep, the obscurity of the onslaught's origin, might mumble as muddle, intricacies ink rusting into incomprehensibles, yet reframe. These are reverential riffs, thematic throbs echoing to Kuru's tidal tapestries, where shrouds of subsidence solicit the spectator's scrupulous scrutiny. Yuko's yoke a deliberate decrescendo to the dawn. Admiration arcs above animadversion, visceral virtuosity as vanguard, though a keener choreography might kindle the casuals. Equilibrated, it's an emblem of excellence. Frailties as fervent fanfares. Episode 2 excels in its emblematic embroidery, persona profundities plumbed with pertinacious precision, narrative nuances navigating nebulas of nexus, an aesthetic assault that alchemizes Takuru's tidal trove into tactile tumult. Frailties, faint in the flotsam, sporadic stutters in stasis's sway, intermittent inundation of inserts. It prevails potently, an incantation of icon and ID, narrative notations nailed to the nexus. Yet contemplate this, the undercurrent that undulates like an unmoored mariner's murmur. What if the horizon you hasten toward harbors the home you've harbored within? Perceiving isn't pastime, it's the wake through your waters, the dip into the dimness where your dormant drifts demand their due. Set sail. The apocalypse awaits your aurora.